The great energy door is open. Okay, guys, you're talking about something very, very exciting in this message. Hopefully you watched the previous message where we talked about how we can actually determine in the end of days, the days of Noah. Okay, and how this is leading to when the door was closed on the ark. Okay, the Most High himself, he closed the door on Noah and the animals in Noah's ark. Then, a year later, after the flood and everything had transpired, then the door is open. Now, we're going to look at that open door, all right, is precisely today in the calendar. Okay, so the door is open on the 27th day of the second month. That's today, time of this recording of this video. Now, where we are in time is significant things happen. We are counting the Omer. You count the Omer from first fruits, and we are counting the Omer. Then today is day number 39. And then tomorrow is the 28th day, and that would mean that there are 10 days to Pentecost. Tomorrow will be Omer day number 40. Okay, and that's when Christ ascended from the Mount of Olives, saying, you will see him return in like fashion. So he did that on the 40th day of counting the Omer. Okay, now, another thing of great significance at this time is we have the menorah, okay, eclipses. The menorah eclipses, what those are, is we know that there are eclipses that happen at 2-week intervals, okay, with a eclipse followed by another eclipse 2 weeks later, the second eclipse being a significant marker. Now, in this year, the first eclipse fell on the second Passover. All right, that fell on the second Passover. That was a solar eclipse. Then 2 weeks later, all right, there's a blood moon. Now, that blood moon is marking this time, this time period, even today and tomorrow, Christ, his ascension, all right, with a blood moon. Now, a blood moon had also marked a year ago the 1,335 days, all right? And that one happened shortly after this time period last year when we had the beginning of the counting of the flood of Noah. So this year, what do we have? We had a solar eclipse coming on the second Passover. The second Passover in the previous year was exactly when the floods began. Okay? Prophetically, the floods began. And we personally experienced the floods with heavy persecution, okay, by saying, yes, this is the 1,335 days. We're watching for significant things, okay? So in saying that we're watching, all right, that's what he said. Christ said to watch, okay, the prophecy, watch for things to come to pass, all right? So we watch. That's what we're doing. We're doing that now. We're watching unto this day. Now, once we arrive at this day, through this sequence of eclipses, all right, we see something very, very important, very, very significant in the times they're in, all right? Now, many are falling away. Many are forsaking the way, falling into the things of the world, forsaking the prophecy, not being patient, and then they're going to wish that they had arrived at this day, this great door that is opened to endure what is coming. So, as we stated, the menorah has the almond blossoms. The almond blossoms are showing the judgments, all right, as we proceed through the judgments of the Great Tribulation. We pretty much can see almost all of them in the bowls happening simultaneously, where you have the mark of the beast, you have the sores, you have waters turning to blood, you have the Euphrates drying up, you have World War III. Pretty much all of Revelation 16 is happening now, okay? But we know that that period of time is 3.5 years marked by eclipses, okay? And so those eclipses we saw as almond blossoms in the menorah, and then we have one in a few days marking today, okay? The great door, okay? The great effectual door in 1 Corinthians 16. So just like we had notes last time, we have notes here today. We'll go through the notes, but again, what we want to do is we want you to understand this door. We open the door So you can see the door is open. All right. And the door, all right, was open to the Apostle Paul. In 1 Corinthians chapter 16, okay, the Apostle Paul talks about this great door. He said, a great door, I tarry in Ephesus until Pentecost. Okay, so just like we said, we're counting the Omer from tomorrow. We have 10 days till Pentecost. Okay, the final 10 days when Christ told his disciples, go into the upper room. All right, so they went into the upper room, and they had to be in the upper room on the day of Pentecost for an assembly. All right, now Apostle Paul, all right, he gets the calling after this. All right, but what they did is they cast lots. Okay, and when they cast lots, they had to have somebody in Apostle Paul's seat, all right, so that there would be 12 seated in seats, okay? Then what happens is his calling and his conversion doesn't happen until later, and then he ends up being the 12th apostle, okay? But early on, what they had to do is they had to cast lots to figure out who would be that 12th, okay? And that was Matthias, I believe, okay? So that's why everyone must be seated, must be prepared unto the counting of the Omer, unto the day of Pentecost. Very, very significant, all right? And what happened is Apostle Paul, much later, all right, he was in Ephesus. He was going to Jerusalem for Pentecost. And he says, a great door and effectual, all right? And that's why in the title of the video, we're calling it a great energy door, because the word energy we get from Greek, all right, and that is this word energias, however you pronounce it, as this energy door. Okay, so what happened was Apostle Paul was telling the people in a letter to Corinth that he was heading to Jerusalem and that many adversaries were awaiting him. All right, now it's very important that you understand that when we have the end of days flood being fulfilled, it's not a physical flood. Just like the Most High said he would not judge the whole earth again with a flood. It happened before, he wouldn't repeat it. But he does say there will be another flood. We went through that in part 1, where we could see the flood in Daniel, Revelation 12, okay, Matthew 24, where he's talking about the days of Noah. So there would be a flood again, but it just wouldn't be physical. So what is the flood? It is the flood of persecution that the saints must have patience. Okay, they must endure. Hypomone. Okay, hypomone. This is a word that those of you in the school, you know, we'll show you the slides of how we looked at the great significance of this word a little bit later when we look at some slides. But this hypomone is another admonition unto this door being open, okay? This time right now. So what must happen? Hopefully, the people are in the place prepared of God. Okay, now if you are in the place of prepared of God, just like it says of the woman, unto a time, times, and dividing times, she was taken into the wilderness, okay, into the place. Once you're in that place, then the door is open. All right, what is the door? Well, we must endure persecution, okay? As we stated a year ago, we had heavy persecution. And this year, those of you in the school, many of you had the opportunity to personally witness the persecution that we had to endure as a school, okay? As an assembly. All right, so that is what the flood is. Now, at the other end of that flood, just like Noah's Ark, all right, what happened? The door was open. Yahweh opened the door to the ark. All right, he opened the door to the ark, and Noah came out with the animals, right? The same thing with the woman. All right, so the dragon was wroth with the woman and persecuted her. All right, but then it says the woman was taken from the face of the serpent. All right, she had to hypomone, be patient, hypomeno, endure, okay? Had to endure unto the time period of that year of the flood, the beginning of the flood, the end of the flood, endure that time until this door would be open, okay? So Now what we want to do is we want to show you what this door is, okay? All right. What this door is, it is in the Church of Philadelphia. So Paul, he had this, okay, he had this door open. He talked about it, right? That's an individual person. But then it's a corporate door. That's what we're saying. It's a corporate door. This is what's happening in the prophecy. Whether it's happening in you or not, okay, is not my job. My job is to read the scriptures and show you what's happening in the prophecy, okay? So yes, the floods of Noah happened a year ago, second month, second Passover, just like the solar eclipse this year came on second Passover. It's marking the previous year, second Passover, days of Noah and the flood began, okay? Then he comes out, the doors open, 27th day, second month this year. Okay, hopefully you have seen part 1, days of Noah, in Matthew 24, Daniel, and Revelation 12. From these prophecies, we clearly established that the concept of Noah's flood would repeat in the end of days, and we would know both the beginning and start of the dates of Noah's flood, of when the door is closed to the ark, and then it is opened. Door closed, 10th day of the second month, all right, and then a year later, the door is open, 27th day, second month, which is today. Amazing. How exciting. So what is this door? All right. We find this door over here in our notes. And let's zoom in and show you this here. The Great Energy Door, Pentecost. Okay. It's the title of the video, as you can see. And this door and this concept and idea, as we said, was what we could see in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 8. Paul said, I tarry at Ephesus until Pentecost. All right, now even in our 7 ecclesia cycle, okay, when we have Pentecost, that's 50, it's 50th week, and the following week is Ephesus, okay? So it does have a another significance there. Now, it says, I'll tarry at Ephesus till Pentecost for a great door and effectual, okay, which is what it says in the King James, or energeus, okay, in the Greek. And this comes from the Greek word en, meaning in, and ergon. It's not really, it's erion, to work. Okay, we'll show you the significance of this word as we proceed here in our Greek studies of the root words. So, yet a great door was open to me, and there are many adversaries. Okay, now, of course, if you read the book of Acts, chapters 21 through 26, you will see the trial of what the Apostle Paul went through as he went to Jerusalem. It's very well documented by Luke in the book of Acts, taking up, much of the latter portion of the book. This trip to Jerusalem in Acts, chapter 20, verse 16, leads to the great trial that Paul went through. Okay, so it was described as well that he was in Ephesus, and then he would go to Jerusalem. So that's how we know that what he's talking about here in 1 Corinthians is actually what happens in the book of Acts. All right. Now, what we saw in part 1 is that the flood of persecution, remember Paul, he had many adversaries. So in the end of days, we have the flood of persecution. All right, the flood was cast out of the serpent's mouth to the woman. And we see that in Revelation 12, verses 13 and 15, which relates to the flood of Noah when the door is open. Okay. The door is open on the 27th day of the second month, which is today, thus leading to the final 10 days of counting the Omer to Pentecost. Okay. So notice how Apostle Paul was talking about Pentecost, okay, and the great door opening. So we're essentially drawing the same conclusion that the great door, okay, leading to Pentecost is also what is in the floods of Noah, where we have the same precise time period, okay? We have the 10 days, final 10 days of counting order leading to Pentecost, which is counted at the 27th day of the second month, which is today, okay? Of course, all the dates we're giving are Enoch dates, all right? Whatever day is today, well, look it up on the Gregorian calendar. We're using the biblical calendar. All right. Thus, the great effectual or energy door is opened to Paul that has an end times fulfillment, right? Which is what? Pentecost. When Paul endured many adversaries, just as the dragon's short time of persecution of the woman. Right, so Apostle Paul had to endure that, the many things he went through in Jerusalem, and we would have Ente's persecution of the woman being the flood of persecution. So clearly, when we see this great door being opened for Pentecost, it's being opened after the trial of persecution. Now, what is the door open to? Well, then the woman flies into her place from the face of the serpent. So the woman is delivered from the face of the serpent for a time, times, and dividing of time. Thus entering the door, Energius, promised to the church at Philadelphia. Okay, so the church of Philadelphia also has this same door opened to them. Okay, so we saw the door open to the Apostle Paul on Pentecost. All right, and then we can see the same door being open to the church of Philadelphia, Revelation chapter 3, verse 7. He that is holy and true, he has the key of David. The key to open what? The door. He opens and no man shuts, and shuts and no man opens. Right. Now, what was the door that no man opened? The door that no man shut was on Noah's ark. Thus, the door in Noah's ark that Yahweh opened, okay, and closed. Okay, so he closed the door at the beginning of the flood. Then 377 days later, the door was opened, okay, and Noah and the animals came out, okay? So this, again, is using the language, a door no man opens, a door no man shuts, is talking about Noah's Ark. Okay? So there would be a Noah's Ark, there would be a end of days like protection, and an ark of protection and deliverance, okay, to those that are patient, all right, those that endure. And here we can see, I know your works. This very next verse, I know your works. Well, works here in the Greek is ergon or ergon, the same root word for energias. Okay, so we saw the energy door earlier. Well, the root word to this word is works. And this is what Christ said, I know your works. Okay, so the energias door in 1 Corinthians 16, verse 8. All right, then Christ continues, behold, I have set before you an open door. So that's what we're saying. This is the, I know your works, okay, energias, okay, and it is the energias open door. And no man can shut it. All right, no man can shut it. So the door is open, no man can shut it. And of course, that would mean that Noah had been in the ark and been protected from the flood. All right, this door is to the temple. Okay, remember she had a place prepared to God. Okay, representing the temple. This door to the temple is detailed in verse 10. Because you have kept the word of my patience. Hypomone. All right, very important and significant word. Now, the hypomone is in Revelation 13:10, or it says, here is the patience of the saints. All right, and you see the endurance and patience of the saints as well in Revelation 14:12, those that kept the commandments of God. But here it says, because you have kept the word of my patience, hypomone, I will keep you from the hour of temptation, periasmos, okay, which will come upon all the world to try the inhabitants of the earth. Okay, so this open door, all right, is the door that is to protect the woman. All right, when she went into the wilderness, she was in a place of protection. But many will not perceive the prophecy, and they will not understand that there was a door awaiting them to protect from the things that will come on this world. All right, now this deliverance, okay, again, is Noah's flood. So this door that is open to the church of Philadelphia It is he that is holy is true, that has the key of David, that opens this door. We know this is in the temple, because to the church of Philadelphia, there's the promise that those would be pillars in the temple. Okay? And they would have the name New Jerusalem. All right. Now, this whole thing that we just saw, the great door that was opened to Apostle Paul during Pentecost, great door open to the church at Philadelphia. Again, this door is something that they had to be patient for the hour of temptation. I will keep you from the hour of temptation. So remember these Greek words, because we'll find them again in 2 Peter. This deliverance from Noah's flood is shown in 2 Peter with the keeping of patience, hypomone. All right, add to your patience in 2 Peter chapter 1 verse 6. Then in chapter 2 verse 5, he spared not the old world, but saved or kept Noah, the eighth preacher of righteousness, bringing in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. All right, so again, we have patience, Noah's flood, all right, and this principle of Noah's flood continues, all right, detailing Lot. Okay, Lot also has the end days of fulfillment of Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, so Lot is described there in 2 Peter. Then in verse 9 it says, the Lord knows how to deliver the devout, or Eusebius, out of temptations. Periosmos, okay, just like we had the periosmos, okay, the temptation, the hour of temptation, all right. The Lord knows how to deliver the devout, okay, Eusebius, out of temptations, and reserve the unjust into the day of judgment to be punished. Now this Eusebius, all right, this is also talking about Enoch. So just like we had Noah's flood, all right, Enoch was, of course, delivered prior to the flood because Enoch pleased God, which you can read in Hebrews 11:5. But when we look at the word pleased, it's a similar word to the devout ones, Eusebius, Eurestio, okay? So what have we learned? There's a great door open, okay, in the end of days, okay, to the church of Philadelphia. There's a great door open, okay, during Pentecost, okay, the great door is open to Noah's Ark today, 27th day, second month, all right. The great energy door, all right, which we could see in 1 Corinthians 16:8 with Apostle Paul going to Jerusalem, okay? In a school presentation, we had looked at this word with great significance, patience, hypomone in the Greek. There's another word, here is the endurance of the saints, hypomeno. And we found this word associated with blessed are those that wait under the 1,335 days and the four angels message in Revelation chapter 14. So in this study, we were looking at these words related to the Septuagint. We looked at these words in the Septuagint, the Greek Old Testament. We found them in Daniel 12, okay? So this is, you can take a screenshot of this. This is a previous study that we had done showing that the patience, hypomone, hypomeno, is related to the 1,335 days in Revelation chapter 14, okay? But what we also see is this hypomone relates to the door being open. And the door to what? The mansions in the Father's house, okay? So mone means mansions, okay? And meno means to abide. And he who abides in me, he will bear much fruit. John chapter 15, okay? So guys, this is the great door that is being opened on this precise day, 27th day, second month, leading to Pentecost, okay? So we're counting the days. We have 10 days after today, leading to Pentecost. So this is a series, guys. Hopefully we'll have more to share. But the voice came from the throne saying, praise our God, all you servants that fear his name, both small and great.